Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks that are also on the move. We're joined now by Bloomberg's Bailey Lipschultz, Bloomberg News senior equities reporter. All right, what are you watching today?
Yeah, all eyes are on the market, but the biggest driver in the S&P 500, Nvidia, up almost 8% right now, on pace for its best two-day gain since May. Keeping in mind, it's still down 22% year to date. So investors going back into Mag 7 stocks. Colleague Bernard Goiter had a really interesting story out about how the lack of liquidity can drive some of these big rallies for large cap stocks as well as indexes. So while the S&P 500 is up 3.8%, Nvidia is up about 8%. Keeping an eye on the validity and how long these stocks can stay higher, just given we are still in Donald Trump's world for all intents and purposes.
And you have to argue, too, that it was just so oversold, right? Like valuations come down so much.
Yep. And we've seen people point to the fact that, as you mentioned, we're on a brutal 3-day stretch. And it's kind of, we saw yesterday with the head fake, the fake headline, if you will, about potentially walking back. So I talked to some people this morning saying, if that's what we get from a potential pause, only imagine what this means if Trump did fully pivot on it. But still, obviously remains to be seen.
Palantir, PLTR, also another name that I associate with kind of AI and that momentum trade.
Yeah, momentum trade. And again, keeping an eye on that, stocks up more than 9%. Again, this is a company that when you look at it on the last 12 months, guys, still up 270%. Yeah. So pulling back from its peak back in mid-February, but the company is still very much part of that risk-on trade. Obviously, when you are really a part of not only some of those retail trader chats favorites of individual investors, but you also get the bid from being a component of the NASDAQ 100, S&P 500. So we do see investors plowing and continuing to plow into those benchmark tracking ETFs.
Right. It's going to be a time, though, I think, until we actually get some fundamentals moving. All right. Last up, what are you looking at?
Keeping an eye on insurers, looking at Humana, the best performer in the S&P 500. Stock is up more than 12%. Really? Also rallying our other managed care names. This comes after the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services published a 5.06% advantage capitation rate increase, which is better than the expectations for 2.23%. So analysts really applauding that will actually impact the companies on a fundamental basis. So fundamental news, Alex, and that some of that regulatory pressure that we've been seeing from the administration pushing back on insurers, maybe easing, if not getting a little bit better, though investors still keep an eye on how the Republicans' budget reconciliation process plays out and what actually ends up happening with Medicare, Medicaid cuts, potentially that can offset some of those tax increases.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.